What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Tackle Talk Tuesday. Today we're going to be talking topwaters. I'm going to go over, there's about 6 different types of topwaters I'm going to talk about. I'm going to tell you about how to the difference between each one and how to use each one, so stay tuned. The first style of topwater we're going to talk about is a popper. A popper has a cupped front end on it, and so it pushes water whenever it goes. So this is a chug bug, and it'll push water across the top of the water, bloop, 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 and that's what you want. So you're gonna give it a pause and a pop, pause, pop. You want to give it the pauses. Pretty much any top water, you want to give it a pause once in a while, with the exception of a couple. But you know, the hit's gonna come on the pause. Whenever this bait's stopped, that's when the bite's gonna hit. So you want to give it a couple of pops, let it stop. A couple pops, let it stop. And just work around structure and work around the weed lines. The second kind would be a spook or a cigar style. This one here is a Rapala skitter walk, and so this one here, notice it doesn't have the cupped front end like the popper does. So this one here, you'll cast out and you'll point the rod tip slightly at the water and give it some twitches, and it'll do what's called walk the dog, and this bait will go across the water like this here. That's what you want it to do. You want to hear that sound, and you want the bait to go across, and that's achieved by pointing the rod tip at the water slightly, just giving it some twitches. Not hard twitches, just small twitches as you're reeling, and that'll make the bait walk the dog. The third style is a prop bait. Now, prop baits can be used and just thrown out and just reeled in directly and ran across just steady, or you can give them some pauses, or you can give them some twitches and pauses. You can work them several different ways. They're effective. Several different types of prop baits, and they date back a lot of years. They've been around for a long time, but you know, probably the best way would be to give it some pauses, just like the other baits, and give it a couple of twitches, and then let it sit there for a couple seconds, and then a couple more twitches, and let it sit there. Sometimes they want a bait just straight moving, and you just cast it out and reel it in, but most of the time a little pause isn't going to hurt anything. The fourth way is with hollow body frog lures, or you know, there's other imitations of perch imitation, some other imitations, but generally speaking, they're a frog imitation. And these baits have the hooks coming up the top. They float. This one has a darting nose, and this one has a popping nose. So they have different styles. So this one can pop, and this one can dart, but they're good to throw in extremely thick vegetation, you know, lily pads and grasses and thick stumps and stuff like that you will get hung up on with the other types of topwaters where the hooks hang down. These hooks are up, so they run through. And just because these are normally used for bass doesn't mean they won't work for redfish. In a flood tide, especially if you get one that's colored like a perch or something, one that's not necessarily colored like a frog, but you run it through the grasses and stuff, and they'll hit it. I've caught snook on the little frog lures. I've caught redfish on the frog lures. They work. So, you know, flood tides, and in situations where you want to be, if there's a lot of underwater vegetation or something, you're working somewhere where there's a lot of scum or something, these are a good option. A lipped topwater is the next way. This example is a jitterbug, and they are just a steady retrieve bait for the most part. You throw it out there, and with the big lip on it, it catches the water, and then it goes across the water and goes bloop, 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 across the water like that. So you can give it some pauses. Pauses aren't going to hurt anything as normal. So, but you can give it pauses, but it's a steady retrieve. And they're very beginner friendly, and they're not saltwater rated, but they'll catch fish in the saltwater too. So, you know, if you are going to use one in the salt water, just rinse it off afterwards so it doesn't rust up on you real fast. But they are an easy topwater to throw, as you know, you don't really got to do anything, it's all built in. Final topwater I'm going to talk about is a buzz bait, and this is the exception to all the rules. This bait doesn't float. It does, if you pause it, it will sink and you'll lose your action. So this particular bait, you just want to run it. It's pretty much a reaction bait. You throw it, you can, with it riding hook up, it rides hook up, so you can throw it into lily pads, you can throw it into brushy areas. If it's real scummy, that'll get wrapped up on the blades, so probably scummy areas, but underwater vegetation is good. You can run it right over the top. This is more of a bass bait, and every year I say I'm going to try to catch a snook on one, and every year I don't ever really try. So maybe this year I'll actually try to do it. But it's pretty much a straight reaction bait. It's there and gone. If the fish doesn't decide he doesn't want to eat it, he ignores it. But if it's a hungry fish, he doesn't let the opportunity go. So it's an extremely fun bait to throw in the freshwater. But the buzzbait is the exception to the topwater rule, as it sinks and you don't want to give it pauses. Thanks for watching. This concludes another episode of Tackle Talk Tuesday. Stay tuned for the next one. We'll see you next week.